Hi guys, and welcome to the Business as Unusual show. My name is Luke. I'm the CEO of Sleeping Giant Media and Giant Campus. If you're new to the channel, please do check out our content. We've got talking loads about social media, SEO, paid search, loads of ideas to hopefully improve your digital marketing game. But this is the Business as Unusual show. We are going to be interviewing a fantastic guest in Andrew Davis. We're going to introduce him in a second. I've just heard some of the background and it's mind-blowing. I'm sure that there's going to be some amazing takeaways, so do hang around for that. In the other news, let's have a quick look at what's been going on in the world today. This is a week that's seen Boris Johnson branded as going too far, which is impressive for Boris. But more importantly, it's mainly about the 10 p.m. curfew. We've also seen students locked in, going viral with pleas for beer and practically reinventing the whole purpose of Deliveroo in university towns. In other news, we saw the true power of technology when an older gentleman managed to wipe out an entire village's Wi-Fi simply by plugging in a rather retro TV set. But don't worry, it's all under control. It is Wednesday, and it's beer o'clock where we're at right now, so which means it's acceptable for you to go grab a beer if you want. It's been a crazy, crazy week, but for us, it's just business as unusual. Hi guys, and welcome to the Business as Unusual show. We have a fantastic guest, and we're not going to hang around because I know that we're going to completely overrun if we don't introduce Andrew very quickly. Andrew, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, Luke?
I'm good. I mean, you're in Spain, so you're loving life, which is, you know, the weather here in the UK is just gone. It's like we're in winter. It's gone instantly into winter, so I'm pretty jealous right now. Do you want to kick off with give us a bit of an introduction to yourself and some of your background, because it was incredible.
Yeah, sure. So I've only worked in digital pretty much since 2001. So my first job was I used to moderate chat rooms and forums for the television show Pop Idol for Liverpool Football Club. I don't know if you're a Liverpool supporter.
I was just going to say, are you a Liverpool supporter?
They paid well. I went with money.
Right. Who do you support?
For Sony PlayStation and for Friends Reunited. I'm sure some of you remember Friends Reunited. So, yeah, I've done that for about a year, and then my parents said, get a proper job, because working on the internet wasn't a proper job back in 2001, 2002. So I ended up at the BBC, ended up to part of the team to launch Radio 1 Extra. And for about 4.5 years, I used to produce radio shows at the BBC. And then I was doing a show in San Francisco, and I was poached by a small startup company then to be part of the team to launch Myspace in the UK. So 2006, I left the BBC to be part of the team to launch Myspace in a world where Facebook was only available to students. The vast majority of YouTube's traffic was on Myspace, and there was no such thing as Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. So I was at Myspace from the beginning. In the UK, pretty much saw the site go from about 50 million to 250 million in a short space of time. And then I saw the site lose about 250 million users in a short space of time. So I know what works and what doesn't. And I left in 2009. And since then, I go all over the world teaching in all different types of industries how to use digital to do whatever business objective you want to achieve.
Guys.
That could, yeah, that could be raising awareness, sales, customer relations, and many different things in between.
How about that for an intro, everybody? I mean, come on, that is some serious cred there. And there's so many questions I've got. Number one, who do you support? Okay, if you don't support Liverpool.
Arsenal man, so I just watched my team lose lose the other day to Liverpool, and we're gonna probably watch them lose again tomorrow. But
Okay, I'm a Spurs supporter, so we'll move on from that very, very quickly.
Before you got me on the show,
I was going to say, I was starting to get to like you, but then suddenly it's all gone downhill. Okay, next question. What do your parents think of you now? Obviously, you were in a situation where they were saying, "Don't bother doing this," and what do they think now? As you're kind of like a globetrotter, loving life, and living off the work that you do, all related to the internet.
Yeah, well, they're very proud. Obviously, they're very proud of what I have achieved. There's been a lot of achievements within the period of time, so that makes them happy. Also, the fact that I worked at the BBC was always a good thing. It's always good to kind of show them that you're at the BBC. Even though I was working in hip hop and garage and grime, the fact that I had BBC on it kind of made it official. So, yeah, that kind of made them happy, and they know that I travel a lot with my work, whether it be I do a lot of stuff in the Middle East all the way to India and all across Europe, so they just know that they don't really know exactly what I'm doing. They always say, okay, well, make sure you're saving your money. The typical parent.
You've got some big brands there, so that, as you say, that in itself will be, will instantly add that credibility to firstly it's your CV, but also that the parents have got to be proud of you. BBC, what an awesome brand to have on there as well. That's incredible. So talk to me about MySpace then. So some people watching may not have experienced it. I think I had a MySpace page, but it was I'm 37, so it was sort of very much at the infancy. I remember having AOL dial-up, and I remember chat rooms. Those were my sort of first experiences with the internet. And I didn't even have Wi-Fi at university, which was upsetting, in my halls, which was like, I don't know how that works nowadays. But what is MySpace? How does it work? And give everyone a bit of an intro to that if you haven't come across it.
Yeah, so MySpace, it was kind of the original social networking, social media site. Before it was a site called Friendster, but MySpace was the first big one, global, on the news, people singing and rapping about it. That was kind of like the first major one, which had the internet numbers that were like through the roof. If you don't know MySpace, imagine Facebook kind of mixed in with Twitter, mixed slightly in with YouTube. It was kind of a mix of that. And when you got your profile page, you could kind of pimp out your pages. When it comes to your friends, you had like the top 8 friends. So you can select who are the top 8 friends, but even though you might have 20,000 people following you, you select your top 8. So you can imagine there was a lot of tension who gets in the top 8.
A lot of tension, yeah.
And also put your favorite musician. So it was really just your own web page, and that's kind of like how it was your space, hence why it was called MySpace.
I see what they've done there. What went wrong with it then? I mean, it sounds obviously if it's an amalgamation of those. I mean, maybe is it because it's an amalgamation of all those, or what sort of dropped it from 250 million visitors to not that many?
Yeah, so there's a number of reasons why. I do a lot of talks on kind of why MySpace failed, but if I had to kind of break it down into two reasons, one of them, MySpace was owned by News Corp.
Yeah.
So it's very much a traditional organization running this new digital thing. So, and that just didn't work. It was just two completely different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I was trying to manage this digital platform and trying to say, okay, well, how we're used to media is piece of content, advert, piece of content, advert. So we interrupt your content with adverts, and do that on the internet. Internet, you need to be a bit more discreet. So that was one of the things. And at the same time, Facebook's coming about, not doing any ads on it. And when it did, it became very selective how ads work. So that was one reason. So it was kind of that traditional company trying to manage a digital company, and again, it's just not working. Another reason was because when it comes to innovation, you should innovate around the edges, not the core.
Yeah.
Every company, they keep the core the same, and they innovate around the edges. So Google, the core is always search and advertising. Yes, they may do Google glasses and some of the other things, but essentially that's it. You type something in and you find it. That's essentially what Google's about. Amazon getting you A to Z, and that's down to a click. A, I go on the site. Z, I get the book in my hand. And then you can get it down to a click. So that's what Amazon's about, even though they do innovation around the edges. Myspace core really was connecting music to the end user. That's what the core of it was. Mm-hmm. And if Myspace really focused on the core, then Myspace would be Spotify now. Because the hardest thing online, well, one of the hardest things online is getting the rights for music. And Myspace had pretty much all of that in place. Wow. So I think that's another reason. But at the time, you're going up against this site called Facebook. You're going up against, we're building this video platform called YouTube. We're building this image platform called Slide. This Bebo, that's popular as well. So you're kind of competing against all these different things and you're not focusing on the core. And I think that's just two reasons why.
Yeah. I mean, what's your thoughts? There's a question from Ambo there saying, would you rather MySpace or Facebook in the modern day? So like now, would you rather?
If I'm being honest, MySpace was built on quicksand. Like the technology of MySpace, that was another thing. It was built on quicksand, where Facebook had a good foundation. So because it was built on quicksand, if it was the same type of technology, it would just be hacked. Where yes, Facebook obviously has been hacked in the past, but not to the level where like you could probably go to a coding school within a few hours be able to hack MySpace. So like it was not that secure.
But as a platform, so like for example, you talked about obviously all the widgets and things like that, and obviously you talked about they went straight in with that advertising model of kind of interrupting your content with advertising, but that's kind of gone full circle in the sense of all the other platforms. They started as free, get everybody there, dominate the space, and now you've got ads midway through unless you pay for premium accounts.
Yeah, what you'll find as well is a lot of the changes that, let's say, Facebook makes, or even LinkedIn or Twitter, a lot of them are actually things that happened at MySpace years ago. Just the design, the look, the way it is, you kind of almost gone full circle a lot of the time. So I think with a lot of the MySpace, I always say it gave the idea for others. When MySpace didn't really have anyone to look at, there was no leader to say, right, they done this right, they done this wrong, let's follow these and let's make sure. So we didn't have that. Plus, when you look at the staff as well, there was no like, okay, well, how do we do this? Because it was so the only places we could look at was traditional media, and traditional and digital, as I said, is like that sometimes. Where you go to Facebook, you go to Twitter, you go to Instagram, you go to Snapchat, you go to TikTok. A lot of the people who they hire now has worked for a digital company before now. So it kind of
paved the way. It seems to have they come up with some good innovations, but at the same time, maybe the market wasn't quite kind of ready for all of it to be put together all at the same time on a non-secure system. This is awesome. This is great stuff. And if you've got questions, Randy, please do put them in the chat. We have got a quiz right now that we're going to go into all about social media on things. I think I've got to get the right screen here. Here we go. Okay. So this will put you through your paces. It's normally high pressure as well, Andrew. Okay, cool. Let's have a look at the first question. Oh, hang on. What? Okay. What? I don't know if you saw that at home, but don't put it in the chat if you did. What did Facebook's famous like button originally say?
Is this for me or is this?
This is for you. This is for you. You can answer along in the chat as we go along, but this is for you.
So with this one, I actually knew this one because it was awesome.
It was.
I remember it because that was a bit of a superlative.
It was. I like it. I like it. It's awesome. Yeah, it's a bit too much, isn't it? It's probably a bit too much. How much would the first digital wristwatch have cost in today's money? Ooh.
If I had to guess. I don't know. This could be a trick question because I'd think 9,000, but I'll go with 5,000.
Go with 5,000. Okay, let's have a look.
Yeah.
Oh, In
Oh, it was 9,000.
1972,
Yeah.
the first commercial digital wristwatch retailed for the pricey sum of $2,100, which amounts to over $12,000 today. By the end of the 1970s, digital watches would now regularly retail for under $10. Yeah, I mean, that just shows, doesn't it, the scale of the speed of technology development as well. Okay, what do these digital icons have in common?
So what's that? We've got email, we've got save, we've got calendar, we've got folder, and we've got contacts. Are they all connected to do with Apple icons?
I think that they are. I'm going to go with that they are a representation of a physical thing, because I think there's a different icon. Not all Apple icons, I don't think. Top right hand one. I don't know. We'll have to find out. Let's find out. They're all skeuomorphs, a newer copy of something else intended to represent the original.
Okay, I never would have guessed that.
Andrew, I'm disappointed and surprised that you didn't get that one. I don't even know what that word is, but now I do. We've learned something for today. Question number 4. Toy Story became the first completely digitally animated feature film in 1996. What was the original name of Buzz Lightyear?
Oof. I'll be taking a guess here, but I would say it was. What's that last one? Is that
Aldrin, which I assume is the actual astronaut, Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah. I'll say Aldrin.
Let's go with it. Oh, that's rubbish. No, I liked our one. I thought our answer was better.
Yeah.
But that show. I mean, 1996. I can't believe that was the first Toy Story. That's just. It feels like it was a lot of
Times.
Oh, okay, interesting. Which digital competitor did Blockbusters reject to not partnered with, in 2000 for 50 million?
I believe it was Netflix.
I think you might be right, sir.
Story goes.
The story goes. Wow. And jokes on Blockbuster Netflix are now worth 194 billion. Ouch. That concludes our quiz. A very tenuous quiz there, but impressive. I can't believe it. We're already past the halfway mark. Time is flying by. You're a bit of a fan of Marvel as well. I'm led to
love Marvel. Already in lockdown, I already sat that. The first thing I did was watch every day. Watched all the Marvel films in order. So starting with Captain Marvel all the way to the last Avengers.
Wow. So because there's a lot of stuff going around, people trying to complete Netflix. Are you kind of working on that as well?
Nah, not quite. I've watched a lot of Netflix though, but I also watch a lot of stuff on Amazon Prime and YouTube. YouTube, I probably spend way more time than anything.
Have you committed to are you sort of a premium on all of those channels?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm premium on all of them. Yeah, but Amazon.
I haven't got YouTube yet. Is it worth it?
It's worth it based on convenience. And what I mean by that is if I watch something on YouTube, or if I'm playing like say this on YouTube and I don't want to watch it, I can switch it off and put it in my pocket and still hear.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
Also, I can download as well. So if I'm on a place where the reception's not great, or if I'm on the tube or something, I can still watch stuff. So that's essentially what I do. It's not for the actual YouTube content, because the YouTube content, what I've seen is pretty poor. There's only been one thing I've watched on it that was relatively decent, or two. One, Karate Kid, but that's on Netflix now anyway. So
Cobra Kai, that's
the one. Yeah,
it is amazing. I am a huge fan. I'm now waiting for season 3 to come in, because have you seen all those series? The first 2?
No, I've watched a couple. I was like, I must get into this, but as you can imagine, I watched Money Heist.
Okay.
So I got into that. That was brilliant. I finally watched Breaking Bad.
Okay.
I watched all or nothing ones. So I watched the one about Spurs. That was really good. that was pretty good actually. So I'm watching loads of series that I've been watching, and that one kind of is on my to-do list or to eventually watch.
Nice. Masood in chat saying he only watches DIY videos on YouTube. I hope they don't help. I hope you then don't try to complete that with your own DIY, Masood, because I know your DIY is terrible. So there should be some warnings that come with those videos, mate. Cool. So moving on to the impact of Corona. What has this done to your world, but also to social media as well? What are the sorts of changes that you've witnessed over the last sort of four months?
So for me personally, from a business point of view, it didn't really affect me that much. So what happened was I was actually in India. I done a course, an influencer marketing course in India, and COVID was around because I remember getting to the airport and they said, if you came from China or Thailand or some of these countries, go this way. If you was anywhere else, go that way. So I remember it being there. And then I came back and then I went to Lockerbie in Scotland, delivered a course there to some farmers, and I remember talking about it then. And when I got back from Lockerbie, then it was shut down. That's pretty much when everything was shut down. So I literally said, right, I'm gonna buy a PlayStation, and then that was it. And because I started getting the email coming in where it's like, oh, because of Corona, we can't do training next week. We'll reschedule. I can't do this talk next week. We reschedule. Yeah. So I was getting a lot. And then I just in my mind, I said, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen because I couldn't see when training was going to be back. But about 4 to 5 weeks later, then emails started coming in saying, okay, well, could you do Zoom sessions? And that pretty much was when things started picking up again. So in my mind, I kind of looked at it like people still wanted training. They just didn't have a way to deliver that training just yet. So I went for this digital transformation. And then from a training point of view, pretty much I do everything on Zoom now, or other platforms. And
I guess moving on to like the way that sort of people should use it. So we talk a bit more about personal branding, the importance of personal branding, and how that seems to have, like, particularly on LinkedIn, there's a lot more people active on LinkedIn. The statistics around social media usage during the pandemic, and are we post-pandemic? We're not post-pandemic and that's been used. I was like, we're not post-pandemic yet. After the first wave, but everyone seems to have sort of upped their usage of it. What are the sort of important things for people and businesses to consider doing more of in terms of their social media usage if they're looking to kind of get that cut through?
Yeah, so Kantar they announced that I think it was like 60% engagement is increased in social media during the pandemic. So it's a huge increase. So what is good is that more people are using it, but what's bad, it means it's harder to stand out, as you mentioned. For me, when it comes to standing out, it's a case of the first things first, and I would say this whether there's pandemic or not, is being consistent. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying, for example, you want to use LinkedIn, try and post daily. Now, the second part will be you need to create creation of content. But when you break down content can be done in 3 stages. There's the creation stage. Okay, right now we're creating something, mm-hmm. or we put together a video that we've edited, we're creating. But there's also the documenting stage where even I'm speaking here, I can have my phone here and I can just take snippets and that could go on my story. So I'm just really just documenting what I'm doing throughout the day. And then there's the curation stage. And the curation stage, I say to people, is be the DJ. So a DJ gets paid a substantial amount of money to play other people's music. So what I'm saying in this case is find people's content on the internet that suits you and your brand. Yeah. So the audience, and leave a sentence or two about it and then repost it. And by doing that, you keep that conversation going. And if it's good content, if it's content that resonates with the audience and they see it once and then you do it again and then you do it again and again, people's going to say, okay, well, you actually post good stuff. Yeah. So I'm actually going to follow you. And this is one of many ways, but this is one way that you can do to stand out. So it's a mixture of, 1, obviously, you've got to do your research. 2, be consistent. 3, realize that there's 3 types of content you can use. And it's a mixture of curating, documenting, and then obviously making as well. Yeah. But ultimately, I have to say to people, the first thing you need to do is your pitch, i.e. your elevator pitch. What are you going to do that's going to get my attention? And you've got seconds to do it. Because if you don't, something else will.
Awesome.
So make a catchy title or a picture as well. And stop people from scrolling up past your stuff.
Yeah, I was chatting to somebody yesterday who was talking about and again, it was more focused around LinkedIn. He's ex-LinkedIn. He's talking about the sort of the dwell time being so important in terms of that posts chances of success. And so for LinkedIn, obviously their ambition is time on platform, so they're trying to get people to stay on platform. So it's not necessarily huge amounts of interaction. Obviously that's a good thing, but actually it's if someone actually stops on the timeline and reads the content and maybe clicks to kind of expand more as well, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah, very button for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's more. I'll read more. On YouTube, it's all about watch time. How much watch time does your channel get? That plays a big part.
I also, is it true that it's not just your channel? So if I came in on your channel, but then I navigated the platform and went round, so my entire sort of browsing visit was an hour, that hour is associated to your channel because you were the entry path. Is that still true?
I believe that's still true, depending on how different it went. So, for example, if you're watching wrestling stuff, and then next thing, which you might frequently do, and then within about 3 or 4 clicks, you're watching how to water your plants. They might not associate that because it's too. Because it's too different. So, but I think a lot of it's to do with the relevancy around that type of content.
Awesome. So
I do it, the higher your watch time, it's also when people type something, you're higher in search or related videos. And a lot of people kind of got that from Amazon as well. Like if you do affiliate marketing on Amazon, if you click on a link, next 30 days, everything that you get on Amazon, I get a percentage off. That's what it used to be. I don't know what it is so much now.
No, that makes sense. Okay, no, that's interesting. It's good to know because again, it's I think people are kind of, they find it challenging as a platform to work out what actually what's behind that algorithm. How do they get their kind of content to kind of resonate? And I think there's a window of time that you have within LinkedIn to get that content to resonate, and then as soon as it does, it then opens it sort of wider to your network if it is in fact performing well. So I
find LinkedIn is about 20 to 60 minutes.
Right.
That's on LinkedIn. That's what I'm finding anyway.
Cool. Okay. One of the things that does tend to resonate quite well on LinkedIn is quotes, and yes, I'm using this just to link this in. Okay, this is and I think they do work well on LinkedIn, but I'm just using it so I can link to this status quote game. As you can see, my DJing, my sort of radio days are working kind of well. This is the Snog, Marry, Avoid, and I just want to get your take on 3 different quotes, which ones you like, which ones you love, which ones you hate. We'll go through those in just a sec. So the first one, and again, chat, let us know what you think. The first one, don't wait, the time will never be just right, from Napoleon Hill. That's the first one. Okay. Second one, no matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. Robin Williams. Okay. Next one, a champion is defined not by their wins, but how they can recover when they fall. Serena Williams. Some good quotes there. Some good quotes. Okay. So which ones do we think? There's the 3 quotes there. Anyone jump out that you either like or dislike?
Snog, Marry, Avoid.
Yeah, Snog, Marry, Avoid.
The one I would avoid would be the second one. No matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. The one I would marry will probably be the first one. Don't wait, the time will never just be right. And then the one that I'll snog will be a champion is defined not by their wins, but how they can recover when they fall.
Absolutely. It's like the Spider-Man as well. Why do we learn to fall down, Peter? Or why do we fall down? And it's to learn to get back up, which is
getting back,
which is a good one. So what is it about the don't wait, the time will never be just right? That sort of is that sort of talking to you a little bit to yourself as well, perhaps?
Yeah, one of my rules is I call it the 70% rule, and the 70% rule is get something which is 70% good enough, and then go. So whenever I do something, I think to myself, is this 70%? If it's 70%, then I'm good to kind of make it. Then I'm good to go. Yep. And then not say it stays at 70%, but I can start tweaking along the way.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at things. And I say, is this 70%? Cool. And 70% is good enough for you to give it out to people, and you're happy to put your face or your name to it. Might not be perfect, because if you wait for perfection, then you're going to wait a long time. So that's why I'd say that is why I put that first.
Absolutely. And 2 things. Sean, you have just corrected me. It was in fact Batman, and it was Bruce Wayne. And it was why do we fall down, Bruce, so we can learn to get back up. Apologies.
I I even remember the scene in Batman Begins when he said it.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry, it's not Spider-Man. Sorry about that, everyone. And now I've completely forgotten my other point, which was related to that. But anyway, we're moving on. We're moving on. What would you say that what would be your favorite kind of quote in terms of, obviously these are ones that we've kind of pre-selected, but what is something that you would say that you kind of stands out to you as a quote that you live by?
For me, there's two. So there's a business one and there's one just life in general. So when it comes to business, it's possible, because if it's possible, then if something is possible, that means you can do it. And if you can do it, you just got to work out how. So if I see somebody who's achieved something, I say, all right, it's possible to do that. How do I work out how to do that? And that's kind of like my business one. For life, I would say it is what it is. And that's a way that I kind of, rather than dwell on situations or get too excited about the situation, I'm like, right, in the now, right now, it is what it is. So once I kind of get into that framework, then it kind of makes me deal with situations better, digest information or digest the situation, but then also helps me move forward as well.
Awesome.
So I often say that to myself, you know what, it is what it is. So right now in the world, it is what it is.
I think that's a good statement to live by with some of the madness that's going on at the moment. I think that kind of helps to kind of put it into perspective. It is what it is. I like it. We are fast running out of time. Before we go, have you got some businesses that you wanted to just to shout out that have been doing a particularly good job over the last sort of 4 or 5 months, and someone you wanted to sort of shout out on LinkedIn?
Yeah, if it was an actual business, it would be Burger King. So I even posted this today on LinkedIn. I don't know if you saw, but Burger King, forget Biden versus Trump, Burger King versus McDonald's. So Burger King, I think it was a couple of days ago, they started trolling McDonald's. So anybody who was complaining about McDonald's, they would go on their Facebook, they would go and respond to their person with an answer saying, well, okay, sorry that you feel it. It was some funny remark from Burger King, and then gave them a coupon for Burger King. But Burger King's been doing, throughout this whole pandemic, Burger King stuff is like almost on a weekly basis. Even last week, well, I heard about this last week, but they sponsored a football team in FIFA. I don't know if you heard about this. So was it Stevenage? I think it was Stevenage. So you basically sponsor the team. So when you play FIFA, you've got the Burger King logo, but then they done something so everyone wanted to play with Stevenage and take them to the Champions League. But every time, and you got something from it. But by doing that, Burger King logos throughout the whole game, and people's talking about it. So it's a really good case study, actually.
Amazing.
Burger King, I think, has been fantastic when it comes to this.
Awesome. That's brilliant. Andrew, we could be chatting for hours, but unfortunately we have run out of time. Just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Some great insights, great stuff. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me.
Nice. Guys, that is it from us today. We will be back again this time next week. We're moving to weekly shows. We are now show number 44, I think. Is that right? Has that been updated? It may not be. I don't know. We're getting close to 50. It's been kind of an emotional roller coaster the last few. But I hope you enjoyed it. We're living in some strange times, but for all of us, it's just business as unusual.